All right, this is Boxing with the Truth, and you're here today with the Truth on January 10th, 2015, and we're interviewing pro boxer Hector Camacho Jr. How you doing today, Hector?
Thank you, Tom. I'm doing well. I'm doing great.
So I hear you're down in Puerto Rico in the warm weather today.
I'm in a beautiful warm weather island of Puerto Rico, where most great champions come from. So I'm out here enjoying the weather.
Okay, so let's start out. Your pro record is actually 58 with 32 knockouts, 6 losses, 3 by knockout, and a draw. But then obviously there's a no contest as well, right?
Yes, that no contest, the biggest one of all. The no contest was the Jesse and Leija fight.
I know, we're gonna get to that in a minute. So you're actually 36 years old right now, right?
Yes, a young 36.
Okay.
Yes, 36 years old.
And you're a southpaw?
I'm a southpaw fighter.
Okay, now you're actually fighting in the division of super middleweight right now.
I mean, that way, because to be quite honest, I haven't been training like I'm supposed to. And it's been up for years. I haven't given us 100%. I'm really, when I was fighting my heyday, when I was signed with HBO, I was fighting at 140, when I was the more contender in the world, all 4 divisions, all 4 categories, all 4 belt categories. I was the more contender when I was fighting at 140. Things happen in boxing, you lose inches, things happen, and now I take little fights every here and there, not staying busy. I'll take fights at 160. I'm happy. I'm heavier weight because the desire wasn't there. I would take fights at the 60s, 65, and I was winning fights because it was fairly easy opponents. So, I felt comfortable in the West. You know what? I'm faster than them. Yeah, they're bigger, but I'm faster. I'm smarter, more experienced. With the right opponent, I was campaigning at 60. It just so happened I bumped into a David Lemieux, who's a hell of a puncher. They called me 3 weeks before the fight. I said, yeah, I'll take it. I see him on YouTube. I was in Panama training. I was kind of relaxing during that time. And they called me, come on, you want to take the fight against the Muse? Decent pay this. You know what? I see him on YouTube. I said, I'll beat him. He ain't that big, and, he was a damn puncher, which I didn't know. But, and I didn't feel it to this day. I don't know how hard he hit, but, he put me the right hand I didn't see, and the fight was ended. And, to this day, I saw the middleweight division. So when I come back this year, I'm planning to fight apparently in March. I'm trying to come back at 47, but I'll make my first fight at 154.
So you think you're gonna get down to like welterweight and you're gonna fight around there?
Never tell anybody in boxing to laugh. That's my plan. That's my goal. That's the only place I can campaign to become champion if I try. Other than that, just a waste of time. 154. Well, I'll compete at 54. I'll put your opponents and beat at 54.
So maybe at middleweight too then.
Junior middleweight. I had the skill. I had the ability. I had the power. I had the speed, I had the boxing smarts. I just put everything together and that drive back. It's all that's needed. But yeah, I'll come back at 54 to 47.
Okay, just so everybody's aware, you actually still are active. You are not retired.
No, I'm still active right now. We're negotiating a fight in Africa for the month of March. I'm still active, yes, but I haven't taken boxing that since the last couple of years. But now, my father's death. I'm finally getting over it. I could say I was in the state of depression. My father passed. I was sad, And like everybody, things happen in people's lives, that ups and downs that people go through in life, and everything's happened at one time. And now, thank God, and things are passing. I'm healing. Emotions my father lost. Other things that happened. I came out victorious of other problems I have outside of boxing. So, everything's falling in place now, so I thought, let me make one last run this last year and put my all into it. It's something I haven't done all the time I have. I haven't put 100% into anything I haven't done. Does it really do it? 36, I'm young 36. I haven't been beaten up. I'm too young. See me physically, I look good. I'm fresh. So I need to give myself one solid year. Don't dedicate myself this year to boxing. I'm walking my way as I'm walking around with 63. I haven't done it in years.
So did I read somewhere that you're dedicating these fights now after your father's death to him, and that you want to win a world title in his honor?
I would love to win a world title in his honor. That's yes. I'm dedicated to myself and to the name. I cannot. My father left on a high stand. I cannot mess up the name Camacho by going to the fight pump there and taking fights. It's not a question about money. Cause thank God, I'm okay. I go in, I got my money well, I got my properties. I'm gonna have to go in the ring and fight. It's a passion, what I love to do.
Okay, well, right now, BoxRank has you ranked 93rd in the world.
Oh, so wow.
You weren't aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that. I don't check in boxing, to tell you the truth. I mean, some of the things that boxing are taking the twists and turns, and, I'm thankful they got promoters like Jay-Z coming to boxing. There's different types of people, 50 Cent, trying to put their hands in boxing. The boxing being monopolized by the time I can go to them, boy. Like things are opening up now, Al Heyman got the NBC shows coming up, you got Jay-Z playing fights on Fox Sports, you got HBO, you got the Showtime pay-per-view, so boxing opening up. So, I haven't been on boxing what's going on, but lately, with the new changes, you have to be, they include,
Okay, so let's back up a little bit in your career and talk about the one fight that pretty much sent your career on a roller coaster ride. The Jesse James Leija no contest fight where you got headbutted and ended up going back to your corner, and before the 5th round, you didn't come out because of the headbutt, and a lot of people basically questioned your heart and said that you were a quitter, and after that, kind of your career went on a roller coaster ride. So let's talk about exactly from you what happened in that fight.
You know what? On that fight, before entering that fight, I was number 1 WBC, number 1 WBA, number 2 IBF, number 2 WBO. I was on a high ride. Beating Jesse Leija, the next fight was against Oscar De La Hoya for big time money. You're right, young, 22 years old, fight on HBO, making $600,000 on an HBO fight against Leija. Had the ball in my hands, had a big contract with HBO. So going to the fight, everything's on my side. I was the next hero, the next Latin superstar. Going to Leija fight, I thought I was winning the fight pretty easy. The headbutt happened. Went to the corner. It's just something that I wouldn't say regret it. If I had to do it over, maybe I'll do the same thing I did last time, but look at it now and see the bad rep I got from it. My corner should allow me to fight. They told me to go to scorecard. They told me to march at the face down to go to scorecard. That's something that I should have kept on fighting. I should have stopped him. Do I regret it? I don't. But it would have definitely changed my career around.
So do you believe a lot of promoters and a lot of trainers and stuff just wouldn't reach out to you and they closed the door on a lot of big fights for you because they just thought you didn't have the heart and that you were a quitter because of that fight?
I wouldn't say that because I had another chance again. Ever since that fight, you see Leija fight, you look down at BoxRank, you see my weight issues. From there, like after that fight, the rep came. The next day, the Daily News, the hometown paper in New York City, coward. I came bad rep everywhere. From the night before that being the next Latino superstar to the next word is coward. So when I seen the boxing world turning back on me, that gave me a bad taste in my mouth. And from there, the desire left. I had that kind of fuck you attitude when that happened. Wow, boxing people turn their back from one day to another. He just respected that. Being my father, having my father in front of me as a role model, as an example. Like when he fought Chapo was area, he got hit. They chased out his money after that, he became a runner. I just knew the boxing world would turn. It's that simple, that fast. And it's just what happened.
Okay, I want to talk about in July 9th on 2005, you actually had the honor of fighting on the same card with your father, correct?
Yes, I fought my father on 3 shows. My pro debut was a USA Tuesday Night Fight on TV. I opened the car for my father. I was 4 rounds. Opened up the show. My father fought the main event. Then we did it again together in Miami, Florida on HBO KO Nation. And this time I had the honor of picking them up tops asked me for the first time, hey, son, put me on one of your shows. I finally had an HBO contract. And I pulled my string, then Goose to help me out. And he put my father on my undercard. From there, I thought to myself, I made it. My father fighting my undercard, I made it. It was a pleasure to see my father fold me the same shit. Even though I wanted to get from the main event, I honor and respect that I was the main event on the HBO donation. Then we fought again in Tucson, Arizona, but in 2009, we fought together. And that's third and last time.
Okay, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because after the win of your father on that card, there was speculation, a riot broke out, and some people say that you might have had something to do with that.
Oh, yeah, no, I forgot about that. I've been to Arizona. Yeah, I mean, you know, you got hot blood. You got Mexicans and Puerto Rican. You can expect the hot blood in the fighter flair. That's just what happened. You know, honestly, I had a good time. People in Tucson, Arizona treated me well. I went back not so long ago. I still get the love from there from people, you know, in Tucson. And I love my Mexican people. I mean, you know, it's just part of the things that happen. Heated rivalry, you know, versus Mexican and the pro-Mexican crowd. If I put things to the ring, and yeah, a couple of fights turned out here and there, you know, so, you know, that's part of it.
So in a roundabout way, did you just admit right there that you had something to do with it?
I'm kind of fast, you know. I mean, if I throw one too, you probably won't see it. But I mean, I wasn't no blame of it, you know. It just so happened that the time against me. I went crazy. When that happens, you got to defend yourself.
Okay, now in 2008, the Puerto Rican Boxing Commission suspended you because they claimed that you signed to fight Yori Boy Campos, but then you denied the fact that you signed. What happened with that?
What happened with that? It's funny, you know, you went to do an investigation. You went to do deep research. That's funny because during that fight, I was working with a guy called Manny Herrera. So Manny Herrera called me up to fight Campos. I said, okay, cool. Send me the contract. And he never sent me the contract. And I believe he signed the contract on that side and got some money up front, which I wasn't aware. We still negotiating. I mean, he came back with an offer of $17,000, and we really at $37,000, at $35,000. I mean, I wasn't sure if it wasn't through me or through somebody else supposed to get me to fight. And he went ahead and signed. And then he came to Puerto Rico, and I went to the office, the commission, and they seen my signature. It was totally false signature. Somebody forged my signature. It wasn't me. And they see the difference, and I guess they had and let me go free and let me keep on fighting.
But a year later, you ended up fighting Yori Boy Campos anyways, and you beat him. And I want to know how much of an honor that was to you actually to beat him, because your father actually fought him prior to that and went to a draw, but you actually beat him. So was that like a revenge thing for your father?
Yeah. Yes and no. I had a thing. I got a number of respect for Yori Boy Campos. I mean, when I was coming up, I remember seeing him fight Trinidad. He won the great Mexican warriors. Like I said, I had nothing against Campos. He beat my father. Hey, my father was over the hill doing that time, shaming fighting. And, I mean, it's boxing. There was no grudge or no revenge or nothing. Just the fight happened, offered the fight. I said, I'll take it. The older man, be a good name, can't pay good 6 figures or whatever. Yeah, I'll take the fight. I took it.
Okay, now before I forget, I just want to run down some of your titles to make sure that I'm correct here. You had the NABA Lightweight Welterweight title. You had the WBC Youth World Light Welterweight title. The USBO Welterweight title. The WBC Caribbean Boxing Federation Light Middleweight title. And the WBF Intercontinental Middleweight title. Is that correct?
That's about correct. That's about correct. Yes.
That's a nice resume, though.
You know, I don't look at those titles as titles. You know, I respect organizations and I'm thankful for the opportunity. But my title, the world titles, which I haven't yet done. I was #1 across the board back in 2001. I never had the chance to fight for world championship. And believe it, out of my 60-something fight to this day, I haven't fought for world title. And that's all I want for this for the boxing. Have opportunity to go down in history as father and son being the world champion.
Well, let me ask you something. Now, you fought some decent names in your career, though. I mean, you fought Philip Howday, Jesse James Leija, Rocky Martinez, Israel Cardona, Yori Boy Campos. Now, let me ask you about that Israel Cardona fight. Do you think that was one of the toughest fights of your career?
under the circumstance, I haven't made 54 in a couple of years. I took the fight. When I signed the fight, I weighed 185 pounds. When I got to Cleveland with a fight with that, the fight 154, I was 168 3 days prior to the fight. I had to lose 14 pounds. I ended up in the hospital the day before to get IV. I was gone. I was weak. I couldn't make the weight. I went to the scare. I still didn't make the weight. I had 3 pounds. So I went back to the sauna. I had no mind to the job. I couldn't do nothing, man. I shut up 3 pounds and I fought Israel. In my toughest fight, I had no energy. I was forced. If you see the fight, I still had the ropes the whole fight and put up the ropes to get the win. Under that circumstance, yes, one of my toughest fights, yes. Because I had no legs to move and box him. I mean, he just boxing him, which I didn't box him. I stood in front of him, which was a pretty good punch. I must say, you know, after the fight, I had black and blue on my head. It was good. Tough punches, tough guys, you know, former champion. Well experienced fighter. Under the circumstance, it was one of my toughest fights, yes.
Okay, back to the Jesse James Leija. Why was there never a rematch between you two?
You know what's crazy? The Leija fight, they called me up for a fight with Jesse 8 weeks after the first fight. I told Dan Goose, and Dan, give me another month. Let my eyes do well. Let me get down on my family vacation right now. I just got bad press. I'm in Puerto Rico right now on vacation. Give me another month to get ready for the fight. I'll fly back to the States in 2 weeks and start training. So, Dan Goose was speaking to Jesse get the fight done. Jesse did sponsor Jesse. At that time, Dan Goose left American Presents. He left the company. And I guess Leija sued American Presents, and Leija got paid from that there. Then our fight was up in San Antonio, Texas, which I agreed upon, that they selected Mickey Ward. It just so happened in that Mickey Ward fight, Leija got headbutted, and he stopped the fight. He bit my move. He pulled out the fight when he moved up ahead.
Speaking of Mickey Ward, how come you never fought Mickey Ward?
I would love to fight Mickey Ward. I mean, that was during my time. We drew the photo. I thought I'd get the chance to fight Mickey Ward soon, too. And I found that materialized. I don't know why.
Because I think that would have been an interesting fight.
Yeah, I like how respect Mickey. Mickey was tough, man. Yeah, he had to really fight Mickey. He wasn't going to stop.
So,
I wanted to test myself. During that time, I wanted to fight Sam Judah. I wanted to fight Custom Sue on the more contender.
So to jump back in your career a little bit, growing up as an amateur and having a celebrity dad like you did, like a lot of boxers don't. I mean, there's enough pressure in the boxing game to begin with when you're a prospect or you're a good amateur, just becoming pro by yourself. But when you have a guy like your dad in front of you with the name, did you feel a lot of pressure as a fighter to live up to that name?
You know what? Going to boxing, I knew that I'd be compared a lot, so I took it for the cause. And I told myself, well, they compare me to my father, then hey, that's okay with me, because you compare me to one of the greats. But if I went to boxing, I knew there'd be pressure. I mean, I from day one over the years, those kind of people like my father, those kind of fighters come every 50 years. Those fighters are born every day. You don't see those type of fighters every day. You get the Muhammad Ali, the Sugar Ray Leonard, you get the Durants, you got the Floyd Mayweather now. Those kind of fighters don't come every day. They're not born every day. So when you want to compare me to a great such as my father, I feel like compliment because he was great. So for me, it was no pressure.
Okay, I want to bring up a couple names that you never fought, and I just want to hear what you got to say about them. How come, well, I'm assuming it's probably maybe because you just couldn't make the weight, because I know your weight fluctuated a little bit, but why didn't you ever fight Paul Spadafora?
I always wanted that fight. I was calling Mike Hickley for that fight. And Mike said, well, we got to pay good for that fight. I always wanted that fight. Actually, I like his style. I thought the fight be a good fight because he wasn't a punch, he was a move out there. I was overwhelmed him with my speed and my power, but that fight never materialized. I don't know why.
What about Charmbe Mitchell?
That's a fight that I don't understand to this day when I never got that fight. I was the more contender than Charmbe Mitchell. He was signed to the lawyer that was with my promotion company. Jeffrey. That fight never materialized. I don't know why. I wanted to fight, but then Van Goose, he had a big name. Van Goose wanted to go up across the sword, a bigger name.
What about Bronco McCart?
I don't think about Bronco McCart. Bronco McCart fighting at middleweight. Nobody like that. I never thought about Bronco McCart. I never seen another opponent. In respect, I never seen another opponent ever before.
Okay, how about Corey Spinks?
That's what I don't want to fight. I don't want to say. I think they're two good names, you know. And I seen them at the ceremony, and they actually seen. I asked him, bro, you done? Let's do one fight. And he said, no, I'm fight already. I don't want that fight. When he fought Jab, I want that fight. It's going to be a good fight for me to make.
Okay, how about Winky Wright?
No, I wouldn't touch Winky. Too big. That wasn't my weight class. Too big. Left Winky alone.
Okay, what about Shane Mosley?
That's a fast thing. The fight day. Shane, when I come back, I'll fight Shane. But the fight, why it never happened? It's another fight that I see myself fighting. That I will fight him. So he fought, when he beat Oscar De La Hoya, he came back and fought on HBO against Antonio Diaz. He wasn't selling. So they called me, HBO, to go on the card because he wasn't selling. I fought a doubleheader with Shane Mosley, thinking I'll be next on the line. That fight never happened as well.
Okay, now I wanna bring up a couple fighters now that you're fighting that maybe you'll fight down the line or maybe not, or one or two of these guys you might not even know who is, but I'm gonna bring up two Minnesota fighters because I'm from the area and these guys are kind of big names around here to see if you'll ever end up fighting them. Have you ever heard of Caleb Truex?
Yeah, he's a middleweight, correct?
Yeah, he's a super middleweight actually. Yeah, he fought Jermaine Taylor on TV and knocked him down.
Yeah, I think he signed with, what's the promoter, 20-something, yeah, promoter out there called 20-something.
Yep, you're right. So you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
Yeah, try calling him, I'm interested in that fight, we'll make it happen. He's right at 160. It never happened.
Okay, what about Cericio Fort? He's a middleweight. You familiar with him up here?
Cericio, yes. Never heard of him, but no.
Well, I actually spoke with him today and told him I was going to bring up your name, and he said he actually thinks that with you guys' styles and who you are and who he is, he thinks that'd be a good fight.
Let me see. He's a little box vaccine trouble.
Cericio,
I'll hope if anybody who takes a bigger step, you know?
Cericio Fort, he's 18-3-1, and right now he's ranked 106th in the world.
And who he signed to?
I'm not sure. He's out of Minneapolis, though. I talked to him today, and he said he would love to fight you.
What's his name?
Cericio Fort.
How do you spell that?
Cerresso.
And the second name?
Fort. F-O-R-T.
Fort, like the car?
No, Fort. Yeah, like fort, like a tree fort.
Oh, Fort.
Fort. F-O-R-T.
Fort, okay. Like the Fort, okay. Let me see. I never heard of him, but I mean, I wouldn't mind finding him. We got promoted back to Minnesota. Why not? You sell tickets over there?
Yeah, a little bit. We got some pro fights that happen here. It'd be nice to see you two like fight on ESPN or something, or Friday Night Fights.
Yes, Cericio Fort. He's 18-3. Yes, he's a middleweight. But I'm really trying to stay away from the middleweight, but I mean, there's something doable. Why not? He's 6'11".
What about, you know what would be a good fight is I'd like to see Camacho Jr. against Pryor Jr. How about Aaron Pryor Jr.?
I like Pryor Jr. I like Chavez Jr. I like Omar Jr. I mean, so many fights to be done.
Well, I was getting a Chavez Jr. I was saving him for last.
That's a fight that I would love. That's something I owe to my father. Now we'll fight for me. I mean, I don't understand why that fight hasn't been done. The one time, Chapman put me in a car with him in Mexico, and I don't know why they didn't do the show. I remember Bruce Trapper telling Bob, no, not yet. It just never happened. It's a no-brainer.
Well, I read a statement that you said that fight needs to happen. Puerto Rico wants it, Mexico wants it, the boxing fans want it.
I think it's a good show. For our family, my father's generation, who was my father's fans, his father's fans, Mexico, Puerto Rico, or Latin America. I mean, two good names. Boxing is fun. There ain't many big names in boxing. When you pair up two good names like Chavez Jr., those are names that people are familiar with. You have to be a boxing fan. They're from, oh, shit, I know Camacho, I know Chavez, they fighters, son. Oh, wow, they watch it. It's a no-brainer.
So have you reached out to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.'s people and tried to work out a contract?
I did, but I spoke to him. I brought up to a couple of times. They said, okay, let's go fight. But I even spoke to, I talked to Sean Gibbons. I hear Sean Gibbons every time. Hey, Sean, make the Chavez Jr. fight. Sean. And they just keep ignoring it. I don't know why, but I mean, it's no-brainer. I mean, you're going to tell me, what's the last guy he beat? He fought him twice. From Texas. Brian Rivera. Nothing against Brian Rivera, but Brian Rivera doesn't sell as much as Camacho Jr. So the two names you pay for them together. But they will fight a guy like Brian Rivera, but they won't fight Camacho Jr., which doesn't make no sense.
So how about you fight Brian Rivera?
I'll fight Brian Rivera too. But the fight that I would like is the Chavez Jr. fight. I'll fight Brian Rivera as well.
Do you wanna call Chavez Jr. out in this interview?
Yeah. Tell Chavez to bring his ass to America. I even go to Mexico to kick his ass. Let's make this fight happen for the boxing fans. For Mexico, for Puerto Rico. I might be fighting Mexico in March, and I'll fight in Mexico. I'll say it out there as well. That's a fight that needs to happen. It's a big fight. Why not fight? It's only a fight.
I agree with you. I'd love to see that on TV. On HBO, Showtime, ESPN, I don't care where, but I'd love to see it on TV. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. against Hector Camacho Jr. I mean, how could you not sell tickets to that fight?
Exactly.
So everybody's heard it here. Hector Camacho Jr. has just told Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., bring it to America. I will kick your ass in America. I'm not coming down to Mexico to do it.
Yeah, I will come to Mexico as well.
Oh, you'll go to Mexico too? You'll fight him anywhere, right?
Yeah, I'll fight him anywhere. It's a big fight. Why not get boxing what boxing needs? Those kind of fights. Boxing on a solid note right now. Why not put Chavez Jr. named people recognized and Camacho Jr. Two names the world recognized. It could be in Panama, Cuba. You know the names.
Well, I agree with you. All right, now I want to talk about something else a little different. What's Team Fight to Walk?
It's a friend of mine, Boy Nelson, who I told our support. I believe he had a passing with one of his former partners, and the spinal thing, just wanted some help, and I'm all for positive things. Like I said, I also got my own foundation called Guns Up, Guns Down.
I know.
Guns Down.
Yep, I was getting to that, Camacho.
Huh?
I was about to get to that as soon as we were done talking about the first one. So, Team Fight.
I fought that for bullet wounds. So, any organization that really support, I'm there to support. I'm more about changing the world. I'm more about the kids. I think the kids do us wrong for Macho Dad. It's all about the kids, the future, and that's my goal.
Okay, so Team Fight to Walk is about spinal cord research, right? And you support that?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that Paul Williams joined with them as well.
Yep, yeah. There's a few different celebrities I noticed that were with them. But now, okay, I want to talk about the one now that you created with your wife. That's called Guns Down, Gloves Up Foundation.
Yeah, I did that for the kids on the street. Like, we come from New York City. See, I'm used to the weekends, even the weekdays. I'm used to playing in a baseball league, a basketball league, even stickball outside the street, football leagues. In Puerto Rico, they have none of that. The government don't help out. City don't help support that. So what that does now is to stop the violence in Puerto Rico. So what I like to associate myself is go to the schools, talk to the kids, maybe try to open up a football league here. It's not a football. Tackle football is in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico only know baseball and boxing. But there's other outlets for kids. Other outlets like football. You go to college football. There's outlets for people to make it up, to make it out where it comes from.
So how does somebody get in touch with this foundation? What does it exactly do for the kids?
For example, I'm trying to start a league as we speak now. A league I'm starting now, which is a stickball league. They're going to make sure I'm not talking. Trying to start thing. And basically going like guardian angels, going around like even like the how you call these people, man? The religion group. They're going around to talk to people. Don't witness. That's what I'm about. We go out and talk to the kids in the streets. Visit the hood and hey, you doing? Camacho, how you doing? I ask him my opportunity to talk to them. And I go to the hood and they're like, come on, what you doing here? None but the people talking on talk. What I'm doing, what you doing? The streets selling drugs, what you in your hands? But we and here's $100, man. Leave that shit alone, man. You make money for the day. Go upstairs, relax, man. Give me some extra stuff. Like I try to help kids out.
Now you're living a clean life, correct? You don't smoke, you don't drink, nothing.
I'm a Muslim. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't party. I don't go out, I don't watch TV. I live a clean life, I always have lived a clean life. I guess that's why I still look young. I mean, I don't mess with nothing.
Now, also you co-authored a children's book called Macho Dad, right?
Yes, I did the book to help kids know what to do with the loss of a parent. And me doing that book, I didn't find out that it's therapeutic. I cried writing the book myself, remembering my father. Like, kids don't know what a loss is. Why inspired me to write that book? When my father died, my daughter was about 11, and my little one was 1. How do I explain to them you lost your grandfather? But even if a bird died, how you say to a kid, the bird died? You gotta explain to the kids what death is. It's not a bad thing. Because if you believe in God, if you die, you go see God. If you behave, it's just how to deal with the loss. We all deal with losses. Loss for animal, loss for, whatever kids have, parent, mother, father. And my loss, well, it's okay. They're in a better place. Now it's mine. Now I got to take the legacy on my shoulders. So it's sort of helping the kids deal with the loss.
Speaking of the loss of your father, was anybody ever convicted or arrested for that?
You know what? They told me not too long ago that they had somebody, but I don't get into that, Because what's done is done. Like, I don't blame the person that shot my father. I blame my father. I blame the streets. Because in the streets, it's nothing good. In the streets, what you're going to find is drugs, jail, or death. I don't blame him. Like, I don't get into the case. I left it alone. Because, quite honestly, my father's fault for being in the streets. Anywhere the drugs involved, the bad thing going to happen. Nothing positive come off the streets. So I don't get into the case. I don't get into investigation. I don't put no blame on nobody. I shall shy away from all that. I won't get into it.
Okay. So now you brought up that you might have a fight in March, right?
Yeah, we went to negotiate a fight in Africa, in Guinea, Africa, which I found there's Ebola out there, and another fight in Mexico. So we're still talking. I'm just keeping myself in shape. Like I said, I want to make 154, but working hard to keep myself in shape. If it does happen, hey, I'll be ready. If it doesn't, well, I'll just wait for a big fight.
Okay, well, hopefully maybe we'll get lucky enough to see you against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. by the end of the year.
Diaz cojones, that means balls in Spanish. If he has cojones like his father, let's make this fight happen.
All right. I'd like to hear that. Well, listen, this has been a great interview. It's been an honor to talk to you and do an interview with you. I was a huge fan of your father's. I'm a fan of yours as well, and I hope that you continue success with your career. I hope you get this fight that you want before the end of your career against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I would love to watch it. And I hope that you get a chance to win that world title and end your career on a really high note and put the past behind you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate your support, man. We will continue in contact.
All right. Thank you. And the truth has spoken.